Today was Spirit Day at school, hence the face paint and the ridiculously bright earrings. But anyways, that's not the topic of today. Today, the topic is I actually went to go see the perks of. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, that's a shame. The perks of being a wallflower. Ta-da! Woo! Anyways, so plot summary. This is really screwy. Anyways, quick plot summary for those of you who have not read the book, but you should go see it. It's um the Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I'm gonna go with that. Chbosky. It's about a guy he calls himself Charlie, but he outright says, my name. I'm just using really common names. That way you don't figure out who I am. He writes these letters to this really random person. It's like random person. He's just like, oh, I'm writing to you because somebody mentioned that you didn't sleep with that person at that party, even though you could have or you said you would, something like that. So it's like really random person. He's writing letters about his freshman year in high school. So right before, this is actually a really hard book to summarize. Right before his freshman year, his best friend shot himself, and it turns out he was the only friend. So, and he also suffers a lot of psychotic breaks, and it's just he's and he's also very introverted to the point where he's really socially inept. There's really no nice way to put it, but I mean, yeah, he's very introverted and socially inept. Like me reading it, I'm a very introverted person. Surprise! I'm a very introverted person when I'm not speaking into a camera. And can be socially inept at times. And I'm reading that, like the first time I read this, there was some moments and it's like, how can you be this stupid? So, I mean, unless, I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, if you read this and this totally made sense to you and you don't see what's wrong with it, I have nothing. Please don't take that offensively. But yeah, there's just certain moments and it's like, Charlie, why do you do that? Like one point. This isn't really a plot spoiler, but there's this one point where he starts eating brownies at a party. He's at like some random party and someone offers his brownie and he's like, oh yes, I'd love some brownies. I'm really hungry. Brownies, awesome. Oh my gosh. Like please. They weren't normal brownies. They were obviously not normal brownies. Even I could tell they were not normal brownies. And I was reading this book and I'm not. And even though later it was obviously like I felt weird after eating the brownies. Really summarized crappy version of it. Yeah. So I saw a movie at a local theater, and I sort of know most of this book very well, by heart. I'm not quoting it directly just because he's very wordy. Charlie is very wordy, and me summarizing it is probably a lot quicker than me trying to quote everything. But so pretty much, what happens is, well, I already said, his friend shot himself before his freshman year, and he says, "Oh, I shouldn't have." So he starts school off, and his older brother just left for college, and his older sister's a senior, and like doesn't want to talk to him in school because she's a senior and whatnot, and he's a freshman. And so he goes and they meet in shop class with this guy named Patrick, and he's a senior, and they become friends. Um, and then Patrick has a stepsister named Sam, who Charlie very quickly develops a crush on. And then it's just sort of like details what goes on through the year until almost, I don't want to say the beginning of his sophomore year, because it doesn't quite reach that. Well, the day before his sophomore year of high school, it does reach that point, um, but yeah, there's some points where he skips very long periods of times for very specific reasons that I shall not mention because they will give away the plot. So, I saw the movie. Quick summary of the book. I saw the movie. My thoughts. Okay. First of all, Stephen Chbosky was actually the one who, I'm not sure if he produced, but I think he helped produce. He also wrote the screenplay and he directed the movie, which is surprising because most authors don't do that. So theoretically, the movie is like what the author approves, like literally what he approves to be on the screen. So theoretically, this movie is like the best, closest thing possible to what Stephen Chbosky imagined it to be. Unfortunately, that's not exactly how I imagined it to be, but he doesn't have the same brain as me. The entire movie, there were some, obviously since I know a good chunk of the book by heart, there were some points and it's like, no, that's so not right, like itty bitty little details that like probably no one else noticed. Like for example, like in the book, Sam's eyes are green, like a very pretty shade of green. And in the movie, Charlie's all like, oh, she has the most beautiful brown eyes. Of course, I was sitting there and I'm like, no, they're supposed to be green, not brown. But nobody really notices those details. So, anyways, about the movie. So, directed by Tim Chbosky. Um, Charlie is played by Logan Lerman from Percy Jackson and the Olympian Thief. Percy Jackson and the Olympian. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I think that's what it's called. And also Hoot, kind of older. Not really older movie, but like came out like 6 years ago, so I guess it's kind of older. Patrick is played by Ezra Miller, I want to say. I don't actually know what he's been in because he's not within my like movie famousness perspective, but he played, I think 2 seasons ago, he played what's his face? He played this one guy. He played someone in Royal Pains. He's like the one guy who like had a disease where his blood wouldn't clot. He played that guy. Um, so yeah, that's him. Sam is played by Emma Watson, who I was sort of surprised about, but not really that she would play him. She would play her, but I was happy with her. She does a wonderful English American accent, so I was kind of happy with that. It's like okay. And then another person in this book, I can forget, is Charlie's English teacher. Um, I mean, he's sort of like a mentor-ish to Charlie. And he is played by, oh my gosh, Paul, I think it's Paul Rudd. I'm not sure, don't take me up on it. I'm pretty sure it's not Paul Rudd, but he's someone with a very recognizable face. I bet they don't know. So anyways, more thoughts on the movie. So I was happy with the way it turned out. Theoretically, the books take place in 1991. So this was one detail that bugged me. The book takes place in 1991, and so does the movie. There were some details where I was like, okay, I can see this being 1991, like the fact that they had mixed tapes instead of CDs or like iTunes playlists. That part is like, okay, at least you got that part right. But like the clothing, there was one point, it's so funny, where like they go to a football game and you see this lady walk by in like those old-fashioned 90s jeans, and to me it felt like Steven just like had to do it to her, like, oh, we are in the 90s, let me just showcase this lady walking by in those old jeans. She wasn't like, she was kind of in the background, but still, it was like, I kind of felt like, you had to stick that in there because you need to prove that they're more than 90s. But for the most part, I didn't really feel like it was set in the 90s, besides certain tiny little moments. But besides that, it was like, it's such a modern movie. But, so yeah, as for casting choices, Logan Lerman, I think, does a good job playing Charlie. Um, I mean, I think Logan Lerman is more mentally balanced and so more socially knowledgeable and more not quite as introverted as Charlie is. But I mean, obviously that's what acting is for. But I think he did a good job of it. There was some character change. There's a little bit of character change. Like he wasn't quite as emotional as I perceived him to be in the book. Because in the book, one of the traits about Charlie in the book is that he cries a lot. Like he calls it like a panicky sort of crying, not like an emotional sort of crying. And Logan Lerman only really cried at the end, from what I remember. So, but I mean, I think that's like a minor detail. But for the rest of it, I think he did a decent job. I think it's just he played it differently than what I imagined it to be. Um, I was kind of disappointed on one hand that he played him because Charlie's supposed to be a freshman and Logan Lerman is like 19 or 20. I think he's 20 now actually. So him and Emma would make an adorable couple because they actually look similar in age. But if you think about it, Sam is supposed to be a senior and Charlie's supposed to be a freshman. So it should be, in my mind, at least from my experience with freshmen at my school, it might be different at someone else's school, that the freshmen and the seniors look way different, like in age. So I feel like Charlie looked too old. Like I didn't expect him to be like short and wimpy and like look like he was 10, but like he did look really old in my opinion. So yeah, Patrick was played. Patrick is gay in the book and in the movie too. It's kind of an important plot part, so I'm at least glad that got that right. In the movie, from what I understood in the book, he's not how do I say this right? He's in the movie. It's more obvious to someone who doesn't already know. Well, in the book, it was made seem more like it was a very well hidden fact until he admitted to everyone. By the way, this is the thing about it. Well, in the movie, it seemed to be more of an not quite obvious, but I just feel like it should have been hidden. It should have been something that he would have been hiding more. Other people in the book, there's Bob. Bob is some random guy who hosts parties and is friends with them. Mary Alice, um, who she's also one of their friends, and there's a plot point in here that deals a lot with Charlie's sort of social ineptitude, one of the two. Um, she's played by Mae Whitman. I was happy with her. She's less punk goth than I imagined, because in the book, at least from my impression, she was like very, very, very much punk rock goth. While in the movie, I think they toned it down a little bit. But I mean, it's like enough that like I felt like I had the effect. But and then I ran the same problem where it's like Mae Whitman looks the same age as Mae. Yeah, Mae Whitman looks the same age as Logan Lerman. So for me, like it was very hard for me to think, okay, it's a senior and a freshman. That sort of really gave it away. But anyways, they do get together at one point. So and that's the social ineptitude because Charlie's socially unaware of certain things. Um, so I mean, for me it was still like you look like you're the exact same age. But that was just a tiny little detail that bugged me. But still, it's a really, really, really good movie. I would recommend you go see it. It's pretty funny too, actually. There are just certain moments I just want to like die laughing. Um, so I definitely recommend the movie. So that means go out and watch it, people, because it's in everywhere now. It's in all theaters now, everywhere. Go watch it. So yeah, my movie review. It also has a good soundtrack since most. I mean, it's not exactly like a top 40s hit of the 90s or anything like that. Because I guess one big part of the book and also the movie was the music. I think, in my opinion, more in the book. Because Charlie and his friends made a lot. No, Charlie himself at least made a lot of mixtapes of different songs. So there's a lot of songs. There's a list on Wikipedia of I think all the songs that he has. The one main one is Asleep. Um, it's like an older song. I don't like it because it's really depressing, but I'm sure Steven Chbosky has some attachment to it, and that's why he stuck it in and made it Charlie's favorite song. Um, I guess, and in the movie, I guess there's two other semi-important songs, three actually. Um, one is Pearly Dewdrop Drops, which I don't remember seeing in the book, and it's not in the list in Wikipedia. Um, it's kind of a weird song in my opinion, but I was not alive during the time period when it would come out, so maybe it was a popular song then. Pearly Dewdrop Drop by the Cockatoo Twins. Something by the Beatles. It's a gift that Charlie gives. It's not really mentioned specifically so much why that song he gives to Sam for Christmas, but they explain it's more detailed in the book. And then I'm totally banging on the song, but if you've seen the trailer, this is one part where they go underneath the tree and they're like, "Wah!" sitting on a truck, and it also that's from one of the bigger quotes in the book, the infinite quote, the I feel infinite thing. It's actually a mini itty bitty little it's not a monologue in the movie, but it's like an itty bitty little. It could be a cool monologue. Um, so like that sort of moment. So there's a song that they play that which I'm totally blanking on because they hear it on the radio and they're like, let's go to the tunnel, and yeah. So this is getting to be a long video, so I'm gonna cut it short. I will eventually be rambling more about Perks of Being a Wallflower, my thoughts, why I love the book, why I love this is kind of movie review, except not really. So yeah, I will be back soon at some point.